Hello and welcome to the Blancpain GT Series Asia, coming to you from Chang International Circuit right here in Buriram, Thailand. It's the inaugural season and the championship is gaining a lot of buzz, a lot of impact. We've got a full grid out there. You can see the cars lining up behind me. 8 incredible makes of machinery, all biting the bit to get started in race 1. A lot of support from the home teams as well. We've got 3 new Thai teams joining the ranks, getting ready to get started. Now I'm going to go chase down some of those drivers for you. Just enough time for me to introduce you to our commentator, Bruce Jones, up in the commentary booth. How are you doing, Bruce?
Very well indeed. Thank you, Renai. It's my absolute delight to be here at Buriram, enjoying my first sight of the new for 2017 Blancpain GT Series Asia. And having been commentating on the Blancpain GT Series in Europe for the past 2 years, it's wonderful to witness the series growth and to be able to come and enjoy these glorious cars in action at a different venue. And I must say, I'm certainly most impressed on my first visit to the Chang International Circuit and really think that the GT3 and GT4 cars will love their time on this circuit. It certainly provides quite a challenge. Now, one of the beauties of the Blancpain series is that no one manufacturer dominates. Yes, in the first 2 races at Sepang, we had wins for teams running Audis and Ferraris, but there's no reason at all why the teams running Mercedes, Lamborghinis, Porsches, or even Aston Martins can't take the glory this time around, because the track layout here is certainly very different proposition to Sepang. Anyhow, a lot of home interest. Let's go back down to Renai very quickly, because she's with a driver who's not a Thai, but Carlo Van Dam has a great local involvement.
Yes, I'm with Carlo Van Dam. Look, you're not Thai, but you kind of know the country very well. It's got to be good to be racing here.
Yes, I've been living here for 3 years now, being part of the Sing Motorsport team. It's just an awesome country to live in. The people very welcome, and it's great to see so many international teams and race drivers come and join in Buriram at this great event and this great series.
Yeah, it's a great time to be out there. Now I know your driver's about to get started, Voravud. It's the first time you've driven together as a team.
Yes, Kun Voravud usually is my student, so during his races, sprint races in the local series, I'm just on the pit wall. Now, obviously, this is a race with 2 drivers. We are teammates, first time. So far, so good. We're hoping in the Pro-Am Pro-Am category to get the top 5. That will be nice, especially race 2 tomorrow. So, so far, so good.
So from driver, coach to teammate, it's going to make things interesting. Bruce, to you.
Thank you for catching Carlo Van Dam down there. So let's take a look at the grid. You can see from the big Chang flags and the series flags, they're waving very heavily down there. And don't forget, this time yesterday afternoon, about half an hour from now, we had a flurry of rain. That could make things interesting because, of course, we have a driver change in this 1-hour race. And if the rain comes, the teams will want it before they have to change the drivers at the pit stop. Great rear shot there. See some of the number 2 drivers. They'll take over. But let's take a look at this circuit. Not so many people know the Chang International Circuit. Here it is, 12 turns packed into 4.554 kilometres. You can see the dark blue opening sector is all about the straights. Then you turn up to the green sector starting at turn 3. It's when you come back down towards the end of the green sector at turn 4, it gets very tight and twisty. And that is when the drivers really earn their corner around this circuit. So the flags continue to flutter very heavily down there. That was a quick sighter of the circuit. You can see the number 1 drivers have got the helmets on. Some of their teammates, like Carlo Van Dam, walking around down there. They get to take over. The window for the pit stops opens between 25 minutes into the race and 35 minutes. And then, of course, the teams can decide if they want to bring their number 1 driver in early on or late on. Some of the teams have very much a number 1 driver who is the AM and the Pro is the number 2. Others have really good silver-silver pairings, so it doesn't really have an advantage changing early for them. But what you don't want to do is trip over someone in the pit stops. And during the course of the race, I will highlight the fact that if you win a race in this championship, you get to have a 10-second extra pit time you have to spend in your pit stop. So the team that will be having that is, in fact, the team starting on pole position. And that is car number 37. That will be started by Anthony Liu from pole position. But let's go down and hear words from Davide Rizzo, who's with Renai.
Thanks, Bruce. Look, Davide, great place to start from.
Yeah, well, that's Anthony's job, what he done, so he did a quite good job. He likes this track, the car is doing good, so at the end he's happy with that. Today we have 10 seconds penalty, so at the end we see what we can do at the end. And yeah, let's cross finger that is going good like race 2 in Sepang.
All right, thank you very much, Davide. Bruce. There you go.
Thank you, Renai. It certainly did go very well indeed for Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo at Sepang. They won the second race really quite easily. But don't forget, I just want to reiterate, they've got 10 seconds extra they have to spend stationary in their pit stop. All teams, from pit in to pit out, they have to be 90 seconds or more. In fact, if you're a really professional team, you want to be 90 seconds precisely. But success breeds extra time in the pit stop, and that can jumble things around. But talking of Sepang, why don't we go back and take a look at the highlights of the opening 2 rounds at Malaysia just a few weeks ago. 2 very different races indeed.
Let's have a look at the highlights of race 1 of the weekend, which began with the spectacular incident that took Richard Wee's McLaren hard into the barrier. He'd be accelerating as he went in from another angle. You can hear the bang, see the impact, and bits of cars scattered down the pit straight, liquid on the ground as well. When the race got underway proper, it was 86 that led the way. Mitch Gilbert, as Anthony Liu behind him, had a bit of a moment and oh so nearly ran wide. In the end, he did lose out as Marchi Lee came up and passed him, and it wasn't long before the Ferrari came under further attack. Battle continued out on track. Some battles raging on in midfield, but one of the big battles was Marchi Lee versus Darryl O'Young as he tried to find a way up and passed for second place. He didn't work and he ended up clattering off the side of Anthony Liu's Ferrari. That ran wide and pitted with a suspected puncture soon after. All the way up and down the top 10 there were squabbles in the first stint, and they carried on in the second stint as well. There was a sideways Tony Fon. He recovered as Raffaele Marciello made a demon bid up the inside to get past Jesse Kroh, and it worked, but only briefly. He ran wide, regrouped and got himself back into the mix. Number 6, Alex Young, was going strongly, but a spin late in the race cost the Audi a chance of progressing, as 91 on the inside was Jesse Krohn working his way up through the traffic and trying to fend off the challenge as well of Jules Simkowiak. But Raffaele Marciello was a man on a mission. He swooped round the outside in the move of the race to go through into second place and then brought down a gap that was 21 seconds to 9 at flagfall. But the first ever Blancpain GT Series Asia win went the way of Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel. Second to Hunter Abbott and Raffaele Marciello, and with it, a win in Pro-Am. Audi draws first blood in Blancpain GT Series Asia, and a tremendous job done.
So the clock keeps ticking. Great to see those highlights from Sepang. As I said, 2 very different races. The car that won the second one is that yellow and red Ferrari from Team BBT, starting from pole position. Just want to reiterate the fact that it is a 10 seconds extra that has to spend in the pit stop. So Anthony Liu is going to have to really press on to build up as much an advantage, if indeed he can lead the race. Who knows? He could be challenged from the outside of the front row or even from row 2. But the clock ticks away. And with so much home interest in the race, we're going to go down because Renai has got a couple of Thai drivers for you.
Yes, Bruce, I'm really lucky to be speaking to both of the drivers here. Burrit, now you're going to be starting today. A little bit unlucky earlier, but we're going to turn things around out there?
Hopefully we're going to turn things around. It's happened all the time racing, so you try my best.
Yes, of course, and obviously you're at home. That's got to be exciting for you too, Kantasak, no?
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, it's weather today is very nice, and then the car is quite good today now. Yeah, and then we will try my best.
Okay, good luck today, the both of you. Yes. So they're going to be starting here. Bruce, back to you.
Thank you very much. In fact, just over Renai's shoulders, you can see there aren't that many cars behind them because Kantasak Kusiri and Buriram Pirumpakti, who will be starting the car, are down on 19th on the grid. They're just ahead of those 5 GT4 class Porsche Caymans. Up the very sharp end, though, it's a pair of Ferraris, an Audi and a Mercedes. But only one Mercedes in this race because one of the 2 Group M cars has been cannibalised for spare parts. The 999 car got crashed yesterday at turn 10, turning into turn 11, and the damage was such that as they were the well placed in the championship. We had to keep them running, and the team took a decision that they'd take the parts off the 888 Mercedes and transfer them across the 999, and that car will be started by Hunter Abbott, and he'll hand over to Mercedes International hotshot Maxi Book. But the good news is spare parts are in the air at the moment. They will touch down in 3 hours' time at Bangkok. The poor crew will have to work through the night, but we will have 2 cars, 2 Mercedes in the race tomorrow. This afternoon, though, just the 999 entry, starting from 4th place on the grid. Now, as I love this moment before the start of the race, before the teams are told they've got to get their personnel off the grid, and it's stripped bare, and you can start to see the cars very clearly. Indeed, there's the number 5 Audi, great race livery for them. Marchi Lee will be starting that and is pretty well. He's sort of about in 9th place on the grid. Then he'll hand over to Sean Thong, and they're placed well in the championship. A very well balanced pairing, and that is actually very much a key in these 1-hour races. But we've seen the highlights of the first race at Sepang, and I think it's time we're going to treat you to the highlights of race number 2, which went to the 37 Ferrari.
Best bits of round 2 of the Blancpain GT Series Asia as the race got off to a very dramatic start, almost 4 wide down towards turn 1. Alex Young managed to stand his ground and hang on to the advantage, but Rui Aguas was the man tucked up behind him on the opening few corners, and it wasn't long before he wriggled away through into the lead of the race, and then the Ferrari started to pull away, but that lead gap soon dwindled as we approached the pit stops, and eventually Alex Young was able to go through, move himself into the lead of the race. There's some good Mercedes battles going on, where Raffaele Marciello got himself up past Jules Shimkowiak. But Alex Young made his bid for race leadership down at turn 9 on the inside of the Aguas Ferrari. Through he went, and once clear in the lead, so the gap started to open. Behind there was another good fight as the Marchi Lee Sean Thong Audi got itself up past Frankie Cheng's car. 91 BMW of Ollie Milroy and Jesse Krohn was not having a happy race, and that would retire early to the pits with mechanical dramas. The Audi fight, though, was well worth watching towards the end of the race as Alex Au tried to defend from Mitch Gilbert, and a charging Hunter Abbott also came up to challenge on the outside line. There was a little rub between Au and Abbott, but Alex Au fought back, tried the inside line to hang on to the place on the inside at turn 14, but Hunter Abbott up on the outside line did his best, but it just did not quite work for him. Number 5 Audi, with Marchi Lee at the wheel of it, was running in 2nd place, but he would lose that before the end to Mitch Gilbert as Alex Au battled his way up past Jeffrey Lee. While all that was going on, the Ferrari number 37 was well clear in the lead of the race. Anthony Liu's car, Davide Rizzo, celebrated on the pit wall as it came through to win by 26.6 seconds. It was a big, big advantage and a job well done by the BBT team.
Well, it's great to see those highlights and the red and yellow Ferrari from BBT. Anthony Liu will be starting that with that 10 seconds extra in the pit. But as we saw, the second race at Sepang, they won by a tidy margin. And now, as I said, once the grid is stripped clear, you can see the cars in all their beauty. The BBT Ferrari on pole position. On the grandstand side, the pit wall side, is the silver Ferrari from Spirit of Race. That has got Rino Mastronardi at the wheel. You can see the 999 Mercedes using the livery of both of the cars, the yellow from the sister car, as the spare parts were moved across. That's starting 4th in the hands of Hunter Abbott. And the driver in the Audi, you just can't quite sit just out of your shot behind the pole-sitting Ferrari. That will be Mitch Gilbert, and he and Aditya Patel won the opening race and came 2nd in the second race at Sepang. So they lead the championship by 13 points. That is a very useful margin after the opening round. Will they still be ahead at the end of this race? As long as they score a decent haul of points with 25 points for win down to 1 point for 10th place, they should still be championship leaders at the end of this afternoon's race. But of course we have another tomorrow afternoon, closer to lunchtime tomorrow. Today this is a 3:20 start in the afternoon here at the Chang International Circuit at Buriram in Thailand. And now the cars are flagged away. The green flag waves them off onto their formation lap. 19 cars from GT3 class, 5 from GT4. So here's the grid. Anthony Liu will be starting the BBT Ferrari ahead of Rino Mastronardi's Ferrari, which is on the outside of front row. Row 2, Mitch Gilbert in the Audi Racing Audi, and then Gruppe M, Hunter Abbott in that Mercedes. Third row, Xinjiang will be starting his Spirit of Race Ferrari from 5th, and Sandy Stuvik will take over as the second driver he's the best place of the Thai drivers from 6th on the grid. Look out too for the Craft Bamboo Porsche starting from row 0.7. Audi Hong Kong, Mark Chi Lee will be handing over to Sean Thong. That's a very good combination. They'll be starting 9th. One of the Thai teams, Vutikon Intrafusak, and French racer Maxime Zhu starting 11th. So you can see quite a lot of Thai influence. Martin Rump, watch for him, 13th on the grid in his Audi, but he was very impressive. And Alessio Picariello, he qualified really well for race 2. So a slightly unbalanced driver lineup, but Picariello, massive start. Quite a lot of big names down towards the back of the grid because a little bit of track time was lost. And again, that Craft Bamboo number 88 Porsche should be advancing. The only Aston Martin in the race, James Kai and Kenneth Lim from CMRT Eurasia. Looks and sounds fantastic, but they are developing with each round, but taking big steps. Byron Tong and Eric Lowe will be the top car in 20th position in the GT4 class. These cars are a whole lot slower, a whole lot cheaper, but 5 of those Porsche Caymans going out to do battle. That's the penultimate row. Douglas Koo has been brought in to race the Hub Auto Racing Cayman this weekend, wasn't at Sepang. And here is the final row of the grid. Jean-Marc Merlin qualified well, but unfortunately did 1 lap too. You have to do 2 flying laps. He only did 1. So he, and also the Chang and Wang Taiwan Top Speed Racing Caymans put onto the back row of the grid. So I was considering whether there might be rain ahead of the race, or even more to the point, during the race, but conditions very different to yesterday. Sun shining over the buildings in the distance, the city of Buriram in the background, the band of trees in between. This 12-corner circuit, 4.55 kilometres in length, looking absolutely fantastic in the afternoon sunshine. Certainly the humidity not as high as it has been yesterday and the preceding days, and that's very good news indeed for, of course, the drivers, the pit crews who are down there in the pit lane in their race suits. Anyhow, right now it's all about the hour of racing that lies ahead. The field being led by Anthony Liu, coming down the hill towards, there's a gentle hill, down to the very tight turn 12, the last corner in the circuit. They have to hold grid formation. Having watched one of the support races, they have quite a long hold after the field comes around the final corner. Yes, there's the start-finish straight. In the background on the gantry, you can see the lights that are red. They'll be going green. Can't see from this position, waiting for them to go red. Holding them, and now the hammer goes down, and Anthony Liu looks like he's going to lead into the first corner, but certainly Rino Mastronardi is interested around the outside line. Hasn't quite got his nose into position, but a great start from Maxi Bouk from 4th to 3rd, and the Lamborghini going really well indeed. That's come up from 6th into 4th place. That's the 66 entry from Vincenzo Sospiri. So Martin Kodrick going very well indeed, but the poleman has done what he has to do. He's holding the lead, and now look, one of the Audis trying to come back into position. That with the 86 car with Mitch Gilbert, who's given a nudge by Maxi Bouk. The tail went round at turn 3, but he's gone off. He's had to lift out of position. There was really a bit of a naughty nudge from Maxi Bouk, and that certainly hit Mitch Gilbert. Can't see if Gilbert's picked it up and has carried on, but he lost a lot of position. They lost 1 position off the start, but the driver who didn't lose position was the driver starting from pole. And concerned faces down in the world of Audi. They're not too happy about that nudge up at turn 3. That's down at OD Racing, but poleman Anthony Liu leads through turn 5 into turn 6, and there is Mitch Gilbert, got it all to do. So he and his teammate Aditya Patel will be most concerned. In fact, that's another Audi down there. So now we're going down towards turn 8, 9 and 10 at the back of the circuit. Certainly a very, very strong start from Martin Kodrick in the 66 Lamborghini. And we've got a couple of cars limping slowly in, 1, 2, 3, right at the tail of the field. But the driver who did the pushing, unfortunately, was Maxi Bouk down at turn 3. Field coming down to the end of the opening lap. 38 holding down 2nd place, Rino Mastronardi. He looks like he's about just under a second down on our race leader. So Anthony Liu, a winner in the 2nd race at Sepang, is doing what he needs to do. He's going to try and build as big a lead as he can, because I'm going to say it now and I'm going to say it again. He has 10 seconds extra over the majority of his rivals. He's got to be stationary during his pit stop. You think how many corners you've got to cut to the finest degree to build a 10-second advantage. But right now, as he goes through the kink at turn 2, going down the main straight of the circuit, 1 kilometre long. In all, we have our race leader just starting to edge clear. So Anthony Liu ahead of Rino Mastronardi. On the start-finish line, it was almost precisely 1 second. Kodrick is in 3rd, and sorry, I keep saying it was Maxi Bouk. It was Hunter Abbott at the wheel of the 999 Mercedes. Maxi will be taking over. Sorry, my mistake there. down, as you can see, the field starting to string out a little bit as it comes back from turn 3 into turn 4. They go around one of the series of ponds. It's just behind that blue barrier on the inside of his turn 5. The Mercedes turning in, that's Hunter Abbott at the wheel. If you just turned on and wonder why the car has got yellow and red markings on it, the 999 Mercedes had a bit of a crash yesterday and it's taken parts off the sister car, which is not running today, as spares being flown in from Germany. So Hunter Abbott, the driver who was at the wheel when the car went for its collision, mainly the damage was restricted to the rear end. There was cosmetic damage at the front end too, but it was quite a big hit. But he's running 4th today, seemingly not too concerned. The car's been built. Yeah, so a little contact, I think, as well between 3 cars battling over the honours in GT4. So we'll keep an eye on them. At least we know they're very, very close together. The front 3 start just edge clear from Hunter Abbott. The gap's gone out by only 1/10 of a second between Lou and Mastronardi. Kodrick in 3rd in the Lamborghini, Abbott in 4th in the Mercedes. And then comes Aidan Reid, a young Australian driver, running 5th in his Lamborghini. That's the black Lamborghini in the background behind the Mercedes. Then we've got the yellow nose of the Porsche of Darrell O'Young. So he's had a good opening couple of laps. Of course, the sort out up at turn 3 on the opening lap dropped a few people out. Mitch Gilbert has not returned, so his Audi would have been damaged, or maybe it's simply been beached, just waiting for confirmation of that, but hasn't returned from turn 3. Lost position into the opening corner, seemed to be fighting back up into turn 3, and then there was a contact with the Gruppe M Mercedes. So, the start of the race, let's take a second look at it. And we were looking for the yellow Porsche Ferrari to lead away from pole, and the job was done from Anthony Liu. He pulled across. It looked as though Rino Mastronardi, the silver Ferrari, would challenge in the background. Mercedes up into 3rd place, but where things went wrong was at the end of the back straight. And that's where Mitch Gilbert, his race came to an unwanted conclusion after contact with Hunter Abbott. If anything, as we look at Darrell O'Young running around in 6th place, we've got the Mercedes almost backing the others up behind. No penalties out. Oh dear, we've got limping in. Oh, you can see that front left wheel on the 89 Porsche is not as it left the factory. And that's Douglas Koo, brought in a Malaysian driver, brought in for this weekend and taken him from Alan Yeo, but that has not worked in his favour. So I said there'd been a bit of contact in the GT4 class, and presumably that is the outcome. So very unfortunate for Douglas Koo and the Hub Auto Racing team. Now, number 9, we were talking before the race with Carlo Van Dam. This is his teammate, the driver he's been training over the years. That's Warwood Pirompakti, who is running around in 9th place. That's a good gain because they started down in 12th position, of course, with Mitch Gilbert being out. He's probably picked up a few places himself. So Carlo Van Dam will be very pleased with the driver he's helping to bring on. And as we heard on the grid, the first time they're racing together as a pair of teammates. What we're seeing now, as we look at the black Lamborghini of Martin Kodrick, the first 2 Ferraris really are starting to stretch away in the lead of the race. There is the Warwood Pirompakti, number 9, Singer Motorsport Ferrari, trying to catch up. Ooh, bit of a wobble there from 39, so that was pressing on hard, but in the hands of Jin Jiang. That was a bit of a wobble. There was a bit of bodywork out on the side of the circuit. I think that must be where the GT4 cars clashed, or just saw in the background of the circuit. You can see a little bit of bodywork sitting there. Luckily, it's not on the racing line, but should there be anyone trying to swing around a GT4 car at that point in the circuit, it might get a nasty surprise. Jin Jiang running around in 8th place, 1 position of... Ooh, now we're getting a little tighter. What's happened, it was, well, certainly the battle for the lead has come down from 1.1 seconds to 0.6 of a second. Maybe a little bit of traffic. We can see they're starting to lap the GT4 class cars. Went the way of Rino Mastronardi, who's giving chase to Anthony Liu. In the background, you can now see, is there going to be much of a change last time to this time? No, Hunter Abbott, I thought, on that long shot, was starting to catch the Lamborghini of Martin Kodrick, but doesn't appear to be. But what is certainly happening is the 2nd place Ferrari, number 38, getting closer and closer to our race leader, to Anthony Liu. 37 still ahead of 38, and now up ahead of them we have Mitch Gilbert in his Audi, but he lost a lot of time with the incident on the opening lap. He is underway again. He's not stuck in the gravel, but he's down the wrong end of the order. But he is the driver running ahead of this lead duo. But we know in terms of pace, with Gilbert at the wheel, there's no reason they're going to catch him. Now this number 10 GT4 Porsche, I thought it was a bit of a bodywork off this car that was sitting in the track, the EKS Motorsport Byron Tong driven Porsche Cayman, but of the quintet of GT4 Caymans, a couple of them are grey. It could also be off the number 17 entry, that is also grey, and there's grey bodywork on the Hub Auto car. That was the one we saw limping in there, so I guess not being detected, but it probably was off the Hub Auto car, and there is that little bit of bodywork. Now what you saw there is Byron Tong was trying to keep out of the way. He almost slowed the car behind because he guessed wrongly. He should have been on the other side of the circuit. Bodywork still rubbing there, or was that just a puff of brake? I thought it was bodywork on, he might have just been locking up. But this is a classic moment where a driver in a GT4 class car has to really keep his cool as not just one, but a whole bunch of GT3 cars come past. You've got to hold your position. Don't change your line through the corners. 669, Aston Martin from CMRT Eurasia. Running that around, it's second in the AM class, and of course there are classes within classes. We have the Pro-Ams, we have the Silver Pairies where you've got 2 top-ranked drivers, and then you've got the AMs where you've got a couple of bronzes, and certainly the Aston Martin crew running second in the AM class. James Kye at the wheel. They are an AM partnership, so they could yet be on the podium, not for overall honours, but for the honours in the AM class. In fact, what we've just seen on this lap is that the number 2 Lamborghini's tucked in behind. I think that's had a little bit of a moment. First to second, back out to 1 second again. So a very good lap last time around from Anthony Liu, starting to respond from the increased pressure as he's pushed on. Number 2 Lamborghini, that is down towards about 17th, 18th positions. And running very wide indeed, running really quite a strange line as he got down to turn 4. And it's bizarre. The Aston Martin that was following him decided to copy him. I think he thought, I'll brake where he brakes, and it didn't work for either of them off the track at turn 4. Sorry, at turn 5, rejoined just before turn 6, where the track gets really, really twisty. Cola Porsche picking its way around the order, but that's with one of the Thai drivers, Vutikorn Inthrafu Vasak. 59, that's again just another Thai driver, that's Buriram. So 6 Thai drivers in the race. It's good that 2 of them are having their own inter-knee sign battle, if you will, and there's one of them, the 59 entry with the car that was running third has got a bodywork running. It's got a puncture, bodywork is now running. Was the contact there? There's a question. Turn 3, pulled off. So for Martin Kodrick, it's suddenly got, it's another car spun in front on the entrance to turn 3. I wondered how. And the yellow and red Ferrari's off in the background as well. I see at the exit of the corner, we've got one of the Porsche Caymans, that's number 11. And that's Terence C. And I think we've had the 2nd and 3rd place cars have been caught up in that. My guess, and I'm creating this from nothing at all, I didn't see it happen, is that I think the incident might have had the car running in the lead of the race, 37, having clashed with it, and then Kodrick came in a few seconds later, about 5 seconds later, and seems to have gone off. Maybe he caught it. Waiting, maybe we'll get a replay. I'm looking to see if there are any flags out around the circuit, but to my eye, I think I saw the 37 Ferrari off the circuit at the side, just waiting as cars are coming back round. Looking for colours of flags. We've got the Mercedes coming in. I think we might have a red flag incident here, or is it a full course yellow? Waiting for sign on screen, but you can see the cars have slowed down to walking pace. Let's find out what happened. Let's look at the replay. Here well, this is very hard to understand. The damage with the Lamborghini doesn't appear to have happened from contact with the spun car, but I think the race leader's off there as well. So Mastronardi is now leading the race. The timing screen confirms that from Hunter Abbott. So we've lost the 1st and 3rd place cars. Anthony Liu's Ferrari, I think, is off up at turn 3. Hasn't made it back. We've seen that the Lamborghini has hit trouble. during this full course yellow. There we are, FCY well picked up by the camera crews. Great to see that for confirmation. The drivers know what they have to do, an internationally used system. And number 11 is marooned there. That should be quite easy to clear off the circuit. So unfortunately there for Terence C running in the GT4 class. It's sort of a case of move up 2 positions for everyone else, having lost the first and third place cars. So we've lost our race leader, Anthony Liu, and Martin Kodrick in the Lamborghini that we saw. But our race leader is now the 38. 999, Hunter Abbott at the wheel, had that contact at that very point on the opening lap with Mitch Gilbert, but he is now elevated in his Mercedes to second place overall. So 12 seconds is the gap between our race leader, our new race leader, Rino Mastronardi, and Hunter Abbott. Here are the positions. There you see the 12-second gap. Mastronardi ahead of Abbott. Aidan Reid, quiet race, where it was 5th, is 3rd. Marchie Lee is up to 4th place. Darrell O'Young, everybody else is moving forward 2 positions. Down in the, you can see lots of Audis from 9th through to 16th. Just having a quick look to see the highest placed car in GT4 just off that screen. So a lot of the Thai drivers down on that 9th to 16th segment. They're a minute and so away. The top car in GT4 is car number 17 in 20th place overall, so it's the all Japanese crew. So 24 cars started the race, and I think we can safely say we've lost a couple. I'm just waiting to see if any of those cars are going to limp back, because certainly we saw Martin Kodrick with bodywork rubbing all over his Lamborghini, and he did it a third of the way around the lap, so 2/3 of a lap of a very twisty circuit for him. Of course, all the cars running at fixed speed. They hit the speed limiter when the full course yellow period is there. They're waiting and waiting for their teams to tell them what is happening and how likely it is. They're waiting for signs on their timing screens to let them know when the flag is likely to be pulled back. Cars still being cleared up at turn 3. I can see the red flashing lights in the distance of a rescue vehicle. The number 11 Porsche Cayman will be pulled to the side of the circuit shortly. Whole gaggle of cars. This is number 9 is running around in 7th position, and all the cars behind it. It's going to be a mighty restart. There are about 4 cars tucked in behind the number 9 Singer Motorsport Ferrari. So when they get released, that is going to be quite something. It's a GT4 car which is acting as a buffer between Boravud, Buriram Bhakti, and the black and red Audi of Alex Au. He'll be handing it over later in the race to Alex Jung. But of course, if you look at the top of your screen, 45 minutes it says. That's how much time is left in this race. When it gets down to saying 35 on our screen, that means you can start making your pit stop. So we're 10 minutes away from the pit lane opening. The pit window opens for 10 minutes. And all the teams from pit entrance to pit exit have to be a minimum of 90 seconds. Well, Mitch Gilbert may be able to pick his way up the order in the 86 Audi. He's down, way down the order. He's almost right at the tail of the GT3 class. But there is our new race leader. Rino Mastronardi had got to within 0.6 of a second of Anthony Liu. It's looking as though he was getting into that sort of no man's land where you get too close, you lose the downforce. But then it went out to a second, and then we lost our race leader. So suddenly the lead was assumed by Rino Mastronardi. And he's, well, it was, when the full course yellow period started, he was 12 seconds ahead of Hunter Abbott, and that's gone out to 15.6 seconds last time around. So even when it's all supposed to be absolutely even, one of them is obviously lapping slightly faster than the other. Our pole starting, race leading Ferrari still being pulled away from the exit of turn 3. Still haven't had a satisfactory answer as to how that incident occurred. What was Anthony Liu's involvement with the GT4 Porsche? We saw damage being done to a car that was coming around in 3rd place, which is Martin Kodrick's Lamborghini, but didn't see, I think, all of the incident. But the simple answer is the safety car. But in fact, the full course yellow board is out. It says SC, but that's on the flip side. The side they show to the driver says FCY. The waved yellow flags warn them there's a caution. Still with the safety car. And now gaggle of Porsches. The shot car in the middle of your screen is Hunter Abbott, and that is why he's, well, in fact, he's now, you can see he's only a few car lengths behind our race leaders. So the timing screen's not being entirely accurate as the field bunches up again. What's happened is now we've got the field have all caught up with the safety car. So the safety car pack is Rina Mastronardi and one of the GT4 runners. Ah, well, the Lamborghini, there's the answer. I didn't think I'd seen it come the whole way back. So Martin Kodrick, no doubt, is out with the rescue vehicle. He'd had a very promising run from 6th on the grid to get up and run in 3rd place after the sort out on the opening lap. But alas, whatever happened at turn 3 has led to its demise. I don't think it will be too much longer until we go racing again. So running out of turn 8 to turn 9 is the grouping of cars you see now. In fact, they're now turning into turn 8. That's turn 7 in the background. Very slight slope down to turn 8, then it levels off, and it, in fact, if anything, rises very slightly to turn 9 as they start turning through to the right. You can see the leading cars in the background. Now this is a wonderful twisting section of circuit, not quite as shortened as it looks. There's a bit more space. Turns 9, 10 and 11 you can really build up a wonderful sweep, and if your car's well balanced, great fun. If it's not, slightly scary by the time you get towards turn 11. At the back of the pack is number 18. Rick Yoon will be handing that over to Estonian racer Martin Rump. That's one of the 2 KCMG entries. Well, still one more lap at least behind the safety car because he's gone through the final corner and the field is following onto the start-finish straight. You can see safety car flags, yellow flags and the boards. So for all these drivers, frustrating. But if you're the AM driver in a crew or the less experienced, perhaps your race time is less of a disadvantage to have compromised by fixed speed limits out around the circuit. And with the safety car, good, the message I wanted to see, safety car in this lap. I don't know why the cars aren't running nose to tail of the start-finish straight. Safety car in this lap. So Rina Mastronardi knows he's got one GT4 car between himself and Hunter Abbott, but Hunter was certainly very feisty on the opening lap and he probably quite fancies his chances of trying to make a jump on Rina Mastronardi. He wants that GT4 Porsche out of the way as soon as possible. You can see the scars of battle on the flanks of that GT4 Cayman. That's number 10. 3rd in class, and that's Byron Tong at the wheel, one of many drivers from Hong Kong coming here to place next rounds of the championship held just over a month's time at Suzuka in Japan, and we're promised more cars for that as the Japanese teams are taking a look at this championship. Car Guy have already entered a car for that race. Now this is the point at which the drivers have to be really on their toes. The lights will still be flashing on top of the roof of the safety car, but the field has started to string out, and this is what the drivers who are a little further back will be very frustrated with. They need the car in front of them to be as close as possible in the queue of cars. So that GT4 Porsche just ahead of Sean Thom will be really quite frustrated. Sorry, Alex Au in the number 6 Audi. He'll be frustrated. He'll want that to move further up the track. He wants it to get right on the tail of the car ahead. So when it comes to restart, he's got a chance of making a meaningful place gain. Rina Mastronardi, good at the start. He had that little look around the outside at turn 1. Discretion was the better part of valour though, and he decided to hold back and tuck into 2nd position. Has held it ever since. Did start to challenge. Now drivers just waiting. They're looking at the lights still flashing on the roof of the safety car, but they will be turned off probably as he goes through turn 9 to let them know that he's pulling off. The teams will have told their drivers, safety car in this lap, pay attention. Just remember your tyres have lost a little bit of tyre temperature. How many heroes have we seen become zeros when they pressed too hard too soon and just hadn't sussed how much heat their tyres had lost? And having been 4, 5, 6 laps behind a safety car, then promptly bring out another one by putting their car off the circuit. Let's hope these drivers fully aware on what's quite a hot afternoon here at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram. Wonderful mixture of Audis, Porsches, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, the Aston Martin at the back, and there's a Mercedes right at the sharp end in the hands of Hunter Abbott. You can see it 3rd in that line of cars. The number 17 GT4 class leading entry with Keo Chang at the wheel is in the way, in the nicest way possible. Hopefully he'll be able to pull out of the way, pull to the left of the circuit and allow all things to be fair. But already he's not hanging back on purpose, but with the safety car having pulled off, a very, very good restart from Rina Mastronardi. He streaks down and certainly has the start of the lap clearly on his own with probably a 2, 3, 4 second advantage over Hunter Abbott. And Hunter's being challenged very hard indeed by the Lamborghini of Aidan Reid, the young Australian racer. You almost couldn't see him. 2 abreast, trying to be 3 abreast because Marchie Lee fancies his chances, and round the outside Hunter Abbott's been absolutely swallowed up. But the first two too hard into the opening corner, and Darrell Young's followed them off. It's place changes left, right and centre. Which one of those is going to be ahead in the battle for second place in class? Hunter Abbott, well, it looked so he'd lost 2 places, but the others simply didn't get enough braking done for turn 1. So up to turn 3, the point at which the clash happened on the opening lap nearly happened again. Marchie Lee took to the outside, and again, he doesn't like using the brake pedal. Lost a little bit of momentum around the corner, and Hunter Abbott prevails. And behind you can see the Singer Motorsport red and white Ferrari getting really, really stuck in, and Zhang Jiang, Chinese racer, right in the mix of the battle as well. Rino Mastronardi, where is he? He's long gone, our race leader. He's got about 3, 4, 5 seconds clear. In fact, probably a bit more than that. Every corner we go to where these cars are fighting for position, he's able to gain a bit of a place, and just in the back of that grouping, very close. Oh, too close between 2 drivers. The number 39 Ferrari from a Chinese driver, sorry, Jin Jiang, has spun around Buriram. He had it all in nice position. I'm afraid that was a little bit of a rude assault, but the number 9 Ferrari has got going again. Hunter Abbott, though, holding down second place, but being pushed very hard indeed by Marchie Lee in the number 5 Audi. Marchie has been a little bit loose as he's been giving chase. He's certainly got the speed, certainly brave into corners, but perhaps a little bit more brake pedal, or brake pedal a little sooner. Might lead to results, but certainly Hunter Abbott in second place will know that he's going to have to work very hard indeed. But we've got to the point where the pit window opens in under 2 minutes. What's the gap between first and second? I reckon about 6 seconds. 5.4 seconds is the gap between Rino Mastronardi, who's really streaking clear in that 38 Ferrari. What a 2 entered by Spirit of Race. And behind, you're dealing in fractions of seconds. Hunter Abbott still ahead of Marchie Lee. Aidan Reid, who had a real challenge down into turn 1, maybe that was his best shot, has now got Darrell Young in the yellow and green Porsche right on his tail. So second place through to 5th, all in your shot there, up at turn 3. And this time Marchie Lee much, oh dear, he clouted the curb on the inside just as I said that. But the point on the circuit in which the Audis is really good happens to come very shortly. The next corner they reach, turn 4, over the very slight crest, down they come into turn 4, and this is the point at which, through until the end of the lap, that the Audis just seem to be so nimble and so good. But all along, what they're seeing, particularly in fact what they're not going to see on the twisty section of the circuit, is the race leader. He's gone through turn 7 as they turn into turn 6. He's going to start being invisible for them. Maybe a distraction. They just have to let him go and see if they can claw their way back. But in the pit lane, of course, the crews will be thinking, right, drivers coming in any time soon. In fact, not thinking they're coming in, they should know when their cars are coming in, looking the next 29 seconds. So therefore, at the end of this lap, will they just miss the opportunity? I don't think Rino Mastronardi is going to come in any time soon. He's going to stay out as long as he possibly can before handing over to his very handy teammate in Rui Aguas. Yeah, he goes round the final corner, down the straight to turn 11. Hunter Abbott, I would fancy, has actually opened out a little tiny weeny bit of an advantage over Marchie Lee, who's tidier through there. Hunter Abbott, well, didn't go so far off, but was actually a little bit compromised on exit speed. Now I think this is allowing Aidan Reid and Darrell Young to close in. Aha, the battle for honours. This is the battle for second place between Jean-Marc Merlin and number 10 in the GT4 class category. They're running second and third in class, hanging it out a bit. And the Craft Bamboo entry of Jean-Marc Merlin, looking to have a little bit more speed, but he's just got to find a way to go past. But he does know full well as the first few cars start to come into the pit lane. Let's have a look and just enjoy the form of these GT4 cars. And what we're going to see is the number 19 Audis coming up behind them. And that will catch them really very quickly, about a dozen seconds faster near to Takeda, because he's in a GT3 class car. But watch these two. These, you know, the GT4 class cars handle really well. Where they lack, of course, they're a bit heavier than their rivals and also not as aerodynamic, much smaller wings. Now let's see what Jean-Marc Merlin can do in the number 17, the second place of these two Porsches. Now, of course, his line is compromised because he's spotted the 19 Audi coming through, pulled very nicely out of the way, as you'd expect from a gentleman like Jean-Marc Merlin. And that just ruined our little scrap slightly, but Merlin, I think, got a better exit out of turn 3. It's interesting, in the straight line, the Audi doesn't have any particularly superior acceleration, but I think then again it was compromised on its cornering line on the way in, and then yes, you can see by the end of the straight it really opened out an advantage. Now, can Merlin in 77, the graphite grey one with the green flashes, close right in? Most certainly can, getting very close. As the second place car and the third place car dive into pit, in the background of the shot you can see Rino Mastronardi is staying out for a while longer in the number 38 Spirit of Race Ferrari. That is leading the way. He had an advantage of about 9 seconds. It was probably slightly less than that because that was including Abbott and Reed diving into the pits from second and third positions, and Marchi Lee too. So Marchi out of the car, and that will be handed over to his Audi Hong Kong teammate Sean Thong. Very well balanced driver pairing. Already the ones that pitted at the end of the previous lap coming back onto the circuit, including the white FFF Racing entry, which Zhu Zhonghan is handed over to Lin Yu, and the number 6 Alex Zhao driven car will now be driven by another Alex Young, and they were very strong indeed in the second race at Sepang on Alex's, sorry, I should specify Alex Young's home ground. Interesting to see how they slot in. There's the 19 Audi. We saw that just last lap with those GT4 fighters up at turn 3. Now the thing is, with a 90-second pit stop between pit in and pit out, you don't have to rush, which is actually very good from a safety point of view. Nice wide pit lane here at the Buriram. It's Chang International Circuit at Buriram, but you can see there's the fast lane is the lane between the pit wall and that blue line. But of course, fast is almost as fast as the man who just ran across the pit lane. I know it was a foreshortening shot, but did he not see the 2 cars in the background just leaving their pit stops? Again, the different lines through the final corner of the circuit, the 12th and final turn. Real racing going on, and Darrell Young is now being challenged very hard indeed. And that's Aidan Reed, I think, coming in. Yep, the black FFF Racing Lamborghini. Aidan got it up to 3rd, 4th position. And of course, when we get to the race tomorrow afternoon, driver 2 starts the race, so the drivers who are getting on board now are the ones who will start the race tomorrow. So all is fair in love and war. And both drivers in any lineup get to start one race and take over in the other, providing the car is still going in the second race. And that is the aim of the game. And of course, we'll have one more car tomorrow because the 888 Mercedes should be, the repairs should be finished. So I think the mechanic's girlfriend who's flying in now, just at the end of her 3rd movie on a flight in from Berlin to Bangkok. So the 59 Singer Plan B Motorsport. I quite like that. You have Singer Motorsport and Singer Plan B Motorsport. Just to complicate things, they run different makes of car, but it matters not. It just shows how the Thais have really embraced this race and found every way they could to add their runners to entice the local crowds to come out. And certainly from the point of view of Thai races, 6 of them in this race, it's great to have them join us this weekend. And for Sandy Stuvik, he'll be racing all championship, and he'll be racing very well indeed. He will be up towards the front end. Well, of course, should be, but of course his teammate Martin Kodrick had that collision, we think, with the spun GT4 Porsche. So that would have dampened the effort for Sandy Stuvik, as they're listed as 9 laps down. We've got 15 laps on the board. So I guess that is not continuing along with the 37. Oh, so we saw it being flat bedded away, of course we did. But another black Audi going very well indeed. Picking its way up the order is the number 1 entry, which is running in 4th place. But the laps, he'll drop a bit low, and that was his out lap, and he gets confused on the timing screens when the pit stops are done. But a car that really fancied its chances, it had a 1st and a 2nd at Sepang, was running 3rd on the opening lap, is that 86 Mitch Gilbert driven Audi, listed at 3rd on our timesheets at the moment, but we know he's got to be there for a 90-second pit stop, so that'll have him tumbling down outside the top 10. But he and Aditya Patel, very handy pairing in the opening race, look to be a very well-balanced crew. So I expect them to pick their way up. If they can get up as high as 10th place, they'll score a point. But let's see how people behave. We've got a little bit more time until the pit stops come to an end. But having had that large advantage, Rino Mastronardi, it should be no trouble at all to get them back out into the lead of the race. And Rino would be handing over to Rui Aguas. What a great teammate to have. The 18 Audi looking out at the moment, just around the tail of the top 10, but Martin Rump, young Estonian driver, really seems to have taken to these Audis with great aplomb. So Aditya Patel, which sort of moved right there, was a race leader. We just come in. So Rino Mastronardi ran a long stint in the 38 Ferrari, that's the silver one a pair run by Spirit of Race. And as I just mentioned, he will be handing over to Rui Aguas. Rui's already on board the car and standing, just checking all is okay from the outside. Drinks bottle in, my dear friend. Checking that Rui's sitting comfortably, is strapped in properly. And again, as you can see, with a 90-second pit stop, there is time for the crews to take care. And also, you don't need as many crew members if it doesn't have to be done in the blink of an eye. And that's always a factor when you're flying people all around the world. But do expect that car to slot back out into the lead of the race. Another advantage for the 38 crew, they didn't have any long pit stop penalty times. The one that was going to have 10 seconds extra, of course, was the 37 Ferrari that's stuck in the gravel or been removed from the gravel at turn 3. They were going to have 10 seconds extra. The 86 car that had the clash at turn 3 on the opening lap, the Mitch Gilbert car, that had a pit stop that was 7 seconds longer. And a whole host of other cars, in fact. You also get, if you've just joined the championship, it's your first round in the championship, or you have a new driver lineup, you have to get 7 seconds extra in the pits. There's all sorts of rules, but none seem to be affecting the 38 crew. So the car that led into the pits, Rino Mastronardi, rejoining the race, but not with Mastronardi on board. Of course, it's with Rui Aguas. And there were no extra time in the pits for them, so there is no reason why they should not slot back into the lead of the race. So 27 minutes remaining in this race, all looking very good indeed for a second Ferrari win this year. I looked to the skies, there was rain this time yesterday afternoon. I don't think that's going to come to be. There are light clouds at the Chang International Circuit, but as you can see, the sun glinting off the bodywork of that 38 Ferrari. So the sun very much shining on Ferrari here this weekend. Their car's so good in a straight line in that opening part of the circuit, down that kilometre-long straight, flashing past the GT4 Porsche. It had a rather strange suspension setup. I think it was the long shot. It looked as though the front wheels were splayed out, but no time for Rui Aguas to pay attention to that. What he's got ahead of him wasn't exactly what you want on your outlap, is a clear stretch of track to settle in through turns 4 and 5. 5 and 6 he goes. In the background you can see turn 7, the right flick, slightly bold corner, over the brow now, and then the track drops down gently to turn 8. He's got the Mercedes not so far behind him, and that's a bit of a threat because it's Maxi Bouk at the wheel. Hunter Abbott started the race, but Maxi Bouk is not a driver you want chasing you down, because over the past 3 or 4 years he's proved an absolute master in all things with the 3-pointed star on the bonnet. Pit stop window, as you can see, is still open, but it must be the final chance. You just have to get into the pits. It doesn't matter if you've not left before the pit stop window is closed. But I think everybody has made their stops. It's funny how you can get very bunched up. We've got 5 cars running almost nose to tail. The middle one there will be Alex Young trying to pick his way up. Sean Thong is his next target. Not all the drivers have flicked their transponders over. I saw Rino Mastronardi getting out of that 38 Ferrari, the race leader, but he's still listed as being in it. But I think he's in the back of the pit garage having a cool bottle of water. It is Rui Aguas in that silver Ferrari being hunted down by Maxi Bouk. Just seen them in a shot. Here's the Aston Martin, that's running outside the top 10. Kenneth Lim at the wheel now. Then Alberto Di Folco, that's his Lamborghini, being pushed very hard indeed by Sean Thong, who's taken over from Archie Lee. So actually the majority of drivers did do the right thing in their 90-second pit stop. You have to alert the timers as to which one's in the car by flicking a switch, but Mastronardi hasn't done it, or Rui Aguas didn't on the way in. But look at this battle. Sean Thong making very short work indeed of Alberto Di Folco. So the Lamborghini from FF Racing Team down 1 position, and as I said in the first part of the race, the number 5 Audi's got a very well-balanced crew. Marchie Lee, good in the opening stint, a few loose moments as he was trying to gain places, but kept the car on the island, and has just picked off that FF Racing Lamborghini, now waiting for the next one to try and do it. Another Audi in the hands of Alex Young, the number 6 Audi, in the background of your shot. Ignore the Aston Martin, that is a lap down. And then come, Lamborghini still the meat in the sandwich, then 2 Audis and then a Ferrari. But it's really the battle at the very front end that's starting to close in. Maxi Bouk is getting closer to Rui Aguas. So yes, we've now got the right identification of the driver in the number 38 Ferrari leading the way, 1.3 seconds on the start-finish line. Yellow and green Porsche, which we can see on our screens now, that's been handed over to Devon Modell. That was a very late pit stopper, and he's down in 8th place overall in the 99 crew. 59 and 19 there, somewhat further down. They've changed positions, and 59 driven by one of the drivers we heard from before the start of the race, Kantasak Kusiri, one of the 6 Thai drivers. He's been kept very much on his toes by the Japanese racer in number 69, which is Takuya Shirazaka. These Audi R8 LMS is so popular, such well-balanced cars, that we thought the predecessor was a great car, but as soon as this one came out, all the Audi drivers went. Slightly harder to drive, but once you get used to it, absolutely fantastic. And around the twisty parts of the circuit here at Chang International, they really do look very well planted indeed. And though I have seen a few going off at turns 5 and 6, but hey, pretty much everybody over the past 2 days had a go off there. It doesn't seem to be very grippy into a corner that looks though it's got a slight slope on it, but car after car has maybe just failed to identify its braking point on the way in. Kantasak ahead of Shirazaka now. They're running down in 16th and 17th positions. But what we really want to see right now, it went down to 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds, the gap between first and second, which is the 38 Ferrari and the 999 Mercedes and Maxi Book. It looked as though the writing was on the wall, but the real racing is not happening between them. That's gone out to 2.7 seconds. And now it's a case of watching. Okay, here's a driver we need to watch. I was going to say, let's look for the pace of Alessio Picariello, and he's started to pick his way up the order. He's just ahead of that black and turquoise Ferrari. That's the 39 Ferrari in shot, but just ahead, we've got 2 Audis. The front one is driven by Sean Thong, then Alex Shield, the black one with the red flashes, and then the silver one with the blue bonnet, Alessio Picariello, and he drove very, very well indeed. He's qualified well for race 2. He's starting way down the order today, but 14th, his teammate Jeffrey Lee started the Taiwanese racer, but did a good opening stint, and Alessio Picariello, look out for him in number 7. There is Picariello in 5th place overall. Carlo Van Dam, we heard from him in the red and white Ferrari. He is not in the top 10. At the moment he's in 13th, but expect that to change. Who's just in front of him? He's got Chris van der Drift just in front. But Van Dam very confident indeed, and will make the move any moment now. In fact, Aditya Patel has just gained a few positions. Then Chris van der Drift in the Porsche has been, he's just been dropped. So Van der Drift has been picked off, and the next target for Van Dam is Aditya Patel. So these are 2 cars that should be at the front end, yet they're not. They are down the order. And no disrespect to Buriram. He did a good opening stint, kept it clean, while certainly some of those around him were getting a little bit too close together. But this circuit, I didn't know where the overtaking points would be, but there certainly must be some, because the order is changing all the time. And Aditya Patel has just realised he's got no answer at all to the challenge of the number 9 Ferrari. Lets it through into corner number 1. So Carlo Van Dam gains another position. Now this is the point on the circuit, in fact, which Aditya told me yesterday, is where he was 5 to 6 kilometres down on the Ferrari through the speed trap. They're just approaching the speed trap there. Today it doesn't seem so much of a difference, and Chris van der Drift got a little bit closer to the Audi. So yes, down the straight, the Audi does keep losing out. So we've had the first round of pit stops, and we knew that Renai will be very, very busy, and she's got the driver who came in from the lead, Rino Mastronardi.
I think it was fine. The car was perfect. I mean, my goal at the start was just to stay out of trouble and not to hit Anthony Liu's car. So after that, everything we were going with the same pace. Fortunately, he made a mistake in turn 2, and he ran into a lap the car, and so I took the lead. And then after that was staying in front with the aero. The car was much better, and I was quick. And after the restart, I took a lot of advantage, and after that it was, let's say, easy. Now let's wait that my teammate bring the car to the end, and it's done.
You're very, very lucky not to get caught up into that bit of mess. Bruce, over to you in commentary.
Thank you, Renai, and thank you. Good to hear from Rino Mastronardi, because that gives the answer to the question that we didn't have an answer for, which is that Rui Aguas did come into contact with that GT4 Porsche Cayman that we saw spun up at turn 3. So Rino then pointed out how much easier it was for him once he got clear. And of course he had had an advantage there. But talking of advantages, our race leader, I thought he was going to be caught by Maxi Bouk, but Maxi is dropping away, 4.5 seconds down now. So the 38 Ferrari that Rino Mastronardi, who just spoke to us there, brought in from the lead, came back out just ahead of the 999 Mercedes and has stretched its advantage. 4.5 seconds last time around, and bad news for the chasing Mercedes is Aguas is going faster and faster, 86 coming into the pit lane. You're not supposed to have 2 pit stops. Can't see a problem with the car. We've got a puncture, but Aditya Patel didn't seem happy with it out there. He wasn't as quick as we thought he might be. Could well be a car problem. Bit of GT4 action for you at the moment. Down the start-finish straight, number 17, that's second in class. The 77 car we saw just going out of our shot is leading the class by about, well, I can tell you, it's not about anything. It's 7.2 seconds clear. And for the GT4 drivers, with the GT3 cars coming past on a constant basis, it's a nice chance for them to actually get a bit of clear track, and they must, for once, be able to relax in this race while still trying to drive as fast as they can. They've got to keep their eyes on the mirrors. And at the moment, the 17 Cayman, Kia Chang has handed over to fellow Taiwanese racer Jeremy Wang, and he's keeping out of the way, but looking to see who's going to come up behind him next in that graphite and green. Great livery on that Cayman. And the answer which car's coming up next is coming to him very soon. Because in fact the next car in the line appears to be our race leader, Rui Aguas. Just a gentle flash of the lights to warn him he is approaching, and as they get to turn 5, our race leader dives up the inside. Look at that polite driving, going out beyond the circuit just to make sure, so well done to Jeremy Wang there. And the next car that will rumble up onto his rear should just be coming in shot. There's the Mercedes, number 999, Maxi Bouk, 5 seconds down now. Has he got any answers? Gosh, you can see how much debris, rubber debris, is... So the Mercedes picking his way past Jeremy Wang. Nicely done indeed. Maxi Bouk has got to see what he can wring out of his car, but does seem the Ferraris are very strong around the circuit. Let's hope no back markers interrupt their action. There's the Mercedes. There is 17 that kept so nicely out of the way. Jeremy Wang from Taiwan Top Speed Racing. There is our race leader, Rui Aguas. What's the gap this time? 5.0 seconds, no gain that lap, almost identical times between Maxi Bouk in the chasing Mercedes and Rui Aguas, but Rui has now got more clear track ahead of him. There's a GT4 runner between the two of them. That should present no problems at all for Maxi Bouk as he gives chase. Oh, you can see how Rui just knows how to drive these 488 GTE Ferraris so well indeed. He had it beautifully balanced as he got the braking right and just started to turn in for turn 3. It's not the tightest of hairpins, it's almost 2 corners. A lot of drivers run wide on the exit. You can see Maxi Bouk having to do that, showing how the Mercedes just doesn't quite have the handling of the Ferraris and the Audis, certainly out of that corner. But don't forget, the Gruppe M crew have already done one overnighter to sort this car out after its clash yesterday. I'm sure it's not quite yet at optimum setting, and I'm sure they'll work on it ahead tomorrow. But of course, the major work will be on the sister car, the 888 car, with the damage to 999 yesterday. The parts were taken off that, so Tim Sugden and Jules Simkowiak are having to stand on the sidelines today and bide their time, and they will get their car for tomorrow after a considerable amount more work. But Gruppe M Motorsport, with their 999 crew being the better placed in the championship standings. In fact, in 5th place coming here to Chang International Circuit, it made sense for them to be given the parts and go racing. So 5 seconds down last time. Actually looks like a better lap from Maxi Bouk. What's it going to be this time? 4.3. Aha, my eyes didn't deceive me. So 0.7, 0.8 of a second taken off. That's not, I think the Ferrari was going particularly slowly. There might have been a little bit of traffic. But Aguas, so many years of experience. He knows full well what he's got to do. But, well, number 86 is retired because they're smiling. That's Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel. But let's hope it's something that can be fixed for tomorrow, because it wasn't quite going as fast as it should have done in the hands of Patel, and it did have that clash on the opening lap of the race. It could be something related to that, maybe something was slightly out of tune, and Aditya, once he just took over from Mitch Gilbert, just thought, you know what, something's not quite right, let's bring it in. They're outside the points. Points go down to 10th place, so they could have picked up some minor points. So number 88 out on the circuit. We've talked about 6 Thai drivers in the race. This is one of the third of the Piran Pakti drivers. It's Nayan Yob, Chris van der Drift started the race, and now let's see where they are in the race. Down in 11th position at the moment. And one of two Porsches, in fact, Nine started the race, handed over to Chris van der Drift, and they might yet get points, get into the top 10, certainly picking their way up the order. The next target for the 88 Porsche, he's got to find 4 seconds to catch Carlo van Dam, but in fact Van Dam was right in front of him a lot long ago, and the fact that Van Dam's dropped him means it's not a target. He's got to be aiming for the car ahead of Van Dam, because Van Dam is on the charge. There is Van Dam in the red and white Ferrari. In the background, snaking all over the place, the Aston Martin trying to go up the inside of one of the GT4 Caymans. Pulls off, well, two of them actually, and pulls off the move to get round, but has no answer at all for the pace of Carlo van Dam, who had quite a lot of understeer there as he pressed on through the twisty middle section of the circuit. He's got a trio of cars ahead of him, and he's got the number 8 Porsche in front of him. That's his next target. That's Maxime Jus. And Devon Modell in the 99 yellow and green Porsche. This is getting very close for position, so there could be points gained by the handful shortly for Carlo van Dam, if he can not just, well, he is catching this duo of Porsches, but when he can get past them. And I think it is a case of when, as we've said from the outset of this meeting, the Ferrari is so strong down on that long straight, the kilometre long, that runs from turn 1 through the kink at turn 2 up to the point where they have to do a little bit of braking, well, in fact quite a lot of braking at this very point here, and going around the outside at turn 3, the point where braking was required, but certainly Carlo van Dam confident to do the wide in, tight out. Hasn't quite worked. Porsche ahead of him with Maxime Jus getting a little bit on one side. He's now readjusted, and the Ferrari, as they come back into my side, has already got past him as they go over the crest, coming down to the braking point for turn 4, tucks in behind Devon Modell. Devon got a little bit loose again on the entrance to the corner just in front of them, but the Ferrari, the pace it seems to have, slight mistake, and Maxime Jus nearly clouting the rear of Carlo van Dam, and it was a case of quick in and then slow through the middle part of the corner for Carlo van Dam, but he was certainly brave under braking. He'd already made the move stick, but amazed by how close Maxime Jus got to tuck under his tail again. But I think once we get to the faster part of the circuit again, we'll see the Ferrari coming good. Going through turn 8 and 9 now. 9 feeds into 10, feeds into 11. Wonderful sweep. Gets a little foreshortened by the cameras, but a bit of gradient change up over a small crest. There goes the 99 Porsche, tucked in behind the number 9 Ferrari, getting closer and closer. Surely you're not going to try overtaking into turn 12. It's a 110-degree corner, so you're going to have the corner coming back on you if you dive down the inside, but that's beautifully close. This is the battle for 7th place overall. It's Modell from Van Dam from Jus. I suppose that's probably quite good for Martin Rump ahead of them, who's actually just set the fastest lap of the race last time around. I was going to say he's able to run on his own. He's actually quite a few seconds ahead of them. He's 18 seconds clear, but that's a really impressive lap from Rump. Rump took over the KCMG by Champion Racing Audi from Rick Yoon. I said he might make progress. I don't think he's going to progress at that sort of pace. Faster that time around than everybody, including our race leader, Rui Aguas. Understandably keeping the cameras on Carlo van Dam. He caught these 2 Porsches, and now it looks like he's done it again. Yep, nose is ahead as he approaches turn 4. So in the space of a lap and a quarter, he's picked off both of those Porsches ahead of him and will pull clear. That is for sure. His next target will be Martin Rump, but with just under 10 minutes remaining in the clock, I'm not sure he's going to have time to do that, but he's gaining as many points as he possibly can, which of course will be enjoyed enormously by his Thai teammate, Vorowud Pirumpakti. And look, the Ferrari from Singer Motorsport, once it's clear of the Porsches. Oh, dearie me. I was going to say it should easily pull away, well, it certainly will if these 2 behind are going to scrap like that. Maxime Jus, these aren't teammates. Maxime is racing the number 8 with Thai driver Vutikon Intrafusak from Est Cola. The other team is entered by the other Porsche there, the yellow and green one, is one of 2 entered by Craft Bamboo Racing. So Bamboo with so much experience over the past decade in all sorts of forms of racing, but really enjoyed the Porsche. And the second of the car from Craft Bamboo is just in the background there. Number 88, Chris van der Drift, the Kiwi driver with the Dutch name, getting closer and closer behind him. Yes, not troubled by traffic. He gained a third of a second on them last time around. But this battle here, further up, this is 3rd, 4th and 5th positions. Number 5, Sean Thong. Number 6, Alex Jung. And number 7, Alessio Picariello. Is anybody gaining in that group? Picariello by a 10th of a second last time around, and gaining on all of them is Martin Rump, who set the fastest lap of the race last time around. Sean Thong round the number 10. Well, in fact, by jinking round the number 10, that great lump of rubber, it was just down at turn 8, got turn 7, got cleared out of the way, so that doesn't affect his handling too much. Always the danger, goes off the racing line, but when you've got the GT4 cars, you have to go round them. They might not deviate off the racing line. It's better if they don't in many ways, but that's where you can find these bits of rubber and things that have been thrown off the racing line, and then you pick them up, you get them stuck to your tyres. Yeah, that run just out of turn 7 down to turn 8. Maxime Juice chasing in the S-Cola Thailand Porsche, but they're definitely holding each other up. Devin Modell's having to look in his mirrors rather than through the windscreen. And there's their full of Maxime Juice, and that would be allowing the chasing Chris van der Drift to get closer to them in the background. Chris holding down the 1 point for the final position in the top 10. 7.5 minutes remaining until that checkered flag can be loosened, ready to be unfurled on the gantry, and it does look, with the gap between first and second having stabilised at between 4 and 5 seconds, that Rui Aguas should be heading to victory in the 38 Ferrari. But who knows how much life he and his teammate have taken out of the tyres, and will the 999 Mercedes come good towards the end of the race and gaining a bit more rubber inadvertently at the very point of the circuit. Everybody's been doing that when they go around the GT4 cars. Was our race leader Rui Aguas, but again he's put that GT4 number 17, which is the car that's second in class, Jeremy Wang, that was so polite in staying out of the way earlier in the race. And again, look how gently he's been going to the outside of the circuit and allowing the second place Maxi Bouk to jink around without losing any time towards the end of the lap. And here is Maxi coming into the final corner, the only Gruppa M Racing Mercedes AMG in this race. Well, there's first, there's second, there's the visual we required. Let's see the time on the clock, 3.6 seconds. So I wondered if the 999 Mercedes might start picking its way a little bit closer in the closing laps. And on that last lap, he gained 0.7 of a second. I know there was a little bit of passing to be done, but does Rui Aguas have the answers, or is he just hanging on for dear life towards the end of this race, leading the race that was given to them on a plate when 37 BBT Ferrari never got into the hands of Davide Rizzo, because sadly Anthony Liu had a clash with the GT4 Cayman up at turn 3, took himself out of the race, and in the ensuing moments the third place Lamborghini also came a cropper. That was the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing entries. Martin Kodrick was supposed to be handing over to Standi Stuvik, so the Thai racer Stuvik, who only just moved across to GT cars this year from single-seaters, very frustrating on home ground. He'll have plenty to prove tomorrow. And of course, Stuvik, being the number 2 driver in that car, will be starting it tomorrow afternoon. Where's he starting? Down in 13th place, so he's got a lot to do in the opening stages of that race. Well, it suddenly all changed, and Devin Modell, often happens. You get put out of position, you lose a place, and any chasing car fancies its chances. And Chris van der Drift has gone past, and now Max Weiser is in the background, hoping he too can get away. Get past the yellow and green Porsche. So Devin Modell, who came on board this weekend, has got to pick himself up, brush himself off, get the focus back. Alex Young in the 6 Audi, still chasing very, very hard indeed. Fancies a visit to the podium. He had one last time out, and is right on the tail of Sean Fong. Sorry, of course, Alex Young and Alex Howe did not get a podium. They had a pole position, which was scored by Alex Young. They didn't get onto the podium at Sepang, but they have a very good chance indeed. But the clock is ticking away. Time is their enemy. 4.5 minutes remaining in this, the first of the 2 races here at Chang International Circuit in Buriram. It's provided some really, really good close racing. And what I like is the fact different manufacturers, their cars handled in different ways around the circuits. Their performance ended up being very equal, but they come at different points around the lap. But Alex Young has no performance advantage in his Audi because it's exactly the same as the car ahead of him, entered by different teams. Audi Hong Kong ahead of the Audi R8 LMS Cup crew. So he's going to have to use the initiative gained in 20 plus years of racing to see what he can do if he can get up into 3rd place. They're just turning into turn 5 now, and there's about half a second between them. We've got Alessio Picariello trying to hang on to their tail. So very kindly running in number sequence 5 and 6 and 7. 39 Ferrari, Max Weiser in position here or there, but doesn't look as though he's going to be collecting loads of points. He hits a great big lump of rubber. He too has got past Devin Modell. I think maybe Devin just getting to learn the Porsche. You can see it's dropping away in the background. Yellow and green showed very strongly at Sepang, but here a little bit out of sorts. Still keeping an eye on that gap between first and second in the race. 2.6 seconds now. Oh, it's going to be very close at the end. Rui Aguas hanging on. Don't forget it's settled at about 5, between 4 and 5 second laps. Let's have a look at a replay. Now there's the passing manoeuvre up the inside of Devon Modell. Well, left the door slightly open, and I'd say that Modell was incredibly polite. Well, that's a little unfortunate. Well, the clash side to side. I don't think Devon Modell particularly deserved that from Max Weiser, because he gave him the corner. Great little replay there, and then I didn't see why he had to keep coming across. Modell had ceded the position, and Modell is now about a second and a half behind. I'm not sure what the stewards might get to say for that. Black and white flag for cars number 69 and 18 for track limits. Oh, I left one out of the lead. Out of that, it's our leader. 38 has a black and white warning flag. So Rui Aguas, as he knows he's being caught by Maxi Buch's Mercedes, has to behave impeccably for the remainder of this race. Has to keep his car inside the white lines. He's allowed 2 wheels over the white line on the outside of the circuit, not all 4. You can imagine right now he's probably having to use every advantage he has to hold off the challenge of the Mercedes, but the 38 race leading Ferrari has a cloud hanging over it, a sort of Damocles, if you will. Because certainly the gap is coming down and down. Last time around it was another 7-8 tenths gain last time around. Is he staying inside the white lines? Left wheels are outside, that's all right. Right wheels on the inside, so that's okay. The gap was 2.675 seconds, looks less than that now. 2.252, another 4 tenths of a second gain, but he's got to do this lap and one more before the checkered flag comes out, because it's a 1 hour race and he should just complete this with about 7 or 8 seconds to go to start one further lap. Can he hang on to the lead of this race? Will it be 3 different winning cars in 3 races? Certainly looking that way. And in fact, if the Mercedes wins, it will still be 3 different winning cars in 3 races. And in fact, should the Mercedes come through, it will be 3 different manufacturers winning races in the first 3 races. So that just shows how competitive it is in the SRO-organised Blancpain GT Series. And certainly this, the inaugural season of the GT Series Asia, is proving very exciting indeed. Now, can that silver Ferrari number 38 hold on for this lap and for the next? I think Rui Aguas has too much experience across 20 plus years of racing to do anything silly. I can't see if there's a GT4 back marker up ahead. Well, a couple of cars up ahead. Yes, I think they are GT4 cars. They could play a role, so it's about picking them off. No, they're not the GT3 cars. The next car they will get to is number 19. That's not in the top 10. Shirazaka. Hopefully he's got his eyes on the mirrors. A little bit of concentration up on the pit wall. Mastronardi, who handed that car, I think there's enough. I think there's enough. They come down 30 seconds as they approach the turn 12, the final corner of the lap, so they'll go on to 1 further lap, staying just on the circuit there, just enough to keep the interest of the black and white flag waver abated, but the fact that 2 cars ahead are fighting for position. Shirazaka getting very, very close to Zhu Junhan ahead of him. Hopefully they have seen, hopefully the blue flag's going to be waved. Certainly the lights are flashing. Rui Aguas, oh no, he's going to catch them. They're going through the kink, he's going to catch them after the turn 3 hairpin. As long as he can get his car positioned for a tidy exit, Maxi Buch isn't close enough to make a move, and I honestly think that Rui thought if I can get one of them between me, that would be a real help, but then he compromised his entry position to turn 3. He's got to try and pull off the move as they come up over the crest of the hill to turn 4. I don't think he's going to get past both of them. Have they seen his flashing headlights? He's getting past neither of them. This is very good news indeed for Maxi Buch. Maxi 1.992 seconds down on the start-finish line, and I think frustratingly, as the 2 cars ahead of him might consider clashing, they came very close, and thank you very much to Rui Aguas. They did precise. Oh, and then the Lamborghini spins, clatters the barriers very lightly on the inside, but they went right across the nose of Maxi Buch. The Lamborghini will get going again, maybe have another spin for good measure. But now look how close Maxi Buch is as they get down to the very back part of the circuit. That's turns 8, turning to turn 9. Maxi Buch is just under a second behind Rui Aguas. How much closer can this get? Certainly when it looked as though Rui Aguas had done just enough, got past those 2 cars, I worried that they might tangle. They did, because they concentrated too much on our race leader Rui Aguas. Lights are flashing down the hill. They come past the GT4 runner. It's going to be a second at the finish line between these two cars, but as long as Rui Aguas isn't too dramatic over through the final corner, there's the checkered flag. What a great chase from Maxi Buch behind, and Rui Aguas has hung on. I'm sure on the pit wall Rino Mastronardi will be very, very pleased indeed. There he is, pats on the backs of the crew. That got a little bit close, and you can never discount Maxi Buch once he's got a Mercedes wound up. It looked as though Rui Aguas had it all under control, but Maxi just kept coming and coming and coming and getting closer, closer, closer. The battle for third place has ended up in the order of Sean Thong, Alex Yoon and Alessio Picariello. Martin Rump has made it 4 Audis in a row in number 18. Comes the line, no problem at all. Waiting for the driver who's going to get 7th, and it should be Carlo Van Dam in the Singer Motorsport Ferrari. Yes, it is. And then Maxime Juice ought to be next to the finish of the race. But what a great job done then by Rino Mastronardi and Rui Aguas. What a shame we lost two of the front runners, including our race leader Anthony Liu, never got to hand over to Davide Rizzo. And of course Mitch Gilbert handed over a car after a delay to Avicii Patel, and Avicii parked that up. So 2 of our front runners, but it still provided a great race at the front as Rui Aguas did everything he could to resist a late challenge from Maxi Buch, who was pushing so hard in the 999 Gruppa M Motorsport Mercedes, and now able to cruise in, avoid the bits of rubber that in fact mainly have been cleared from the circuit, I think including on his own tyres. Sitting in the track it had been at turn 7 and was cleared up, but cruising in gently, knowing a gentle night in the hotel, and maybe the partying can start tomorrow because we have the second race. Have to keep themselves all under control tomorrow. 1:30, so the track will be a little bit warmer, the temperatures be a little bit higher tomorrow afternoon. Oh, unless there's rain, but right now let's enjoy the return to the pit lane of Rui Aguas, where he will no doubt get to greet or be greeted by Rino Mastronardi, not to the pit lane. Of course, they pull up in front of the podium, the top handful of drivers from all the classes, as we have overall, then we have the Pro-Am, and then we have the GT3 Am podium, and then we'll have the GT4 podium. Number 19 has pulled in there, not for overall victor, but top in the AM class. So AM was 19. So victory for KCMG's Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirazaka. Overall victory, of course, to Aguas and Mastronardi. GT4 victory taken by the 77 crew from Craft Bamboo Racing. So they have come away with something for Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Hugh. There's one of the GT4 Caymans coming into the background. So congratulations all round. A really exciting close to the race, really exciting start to the race. We had the safety car period as well, which bunched the cars up, and when it came down to it, it was all about Rui Aguas. You can see Rui in the background with the shaven head, Portuguese racer. There's Tarasaka, very pleased with his afternoon's activity, as he should be. Victory by about 25 seconds in the GT4 class. So, starting to... So there we have applause for the AM class winner. So, we should have caught up with the winners, the top finishers down on the grid as they end up after an afternoon's of activity. They know they've all got the race tomorrow, where the driver 2 starts the race and driver 1 takes over for the second half. Plenty to think about for all the crews. A lot of them, it's been their first experience the Chang International Circuit here at Buriram. I think it provided some great racing, certainly packed with incident on the opening lap and at various other points through the race. But the 38 crew were going to be on the podium. They certainly had the pace in the hands of Rino Mastronardi and Rui Aguas. They lost a couple of their challenges, and then the real push in the close of the race came from the 999 Gruppa M Mercedes crew as they closed in, and at the end, what was the gap? 0.795 of a second. So we're going to go down and we're going to hear from our race winner, because Renner has caught up down in front of the podium with Rui Aguas.
Yes, congratulations. It feel good coming across that line?
Yes, it was wonderful. Fantastic win. I'm happy. Rino did a great job. The crew did a great job. The team did fantastic. They prepared the car very well. Starting from the front row helped. And it's a pity Nasrat could not come, but I'm sure he was watching and be very happy about the result. And what can I say? First victory on the championship is fantastic.
And a great start from you, Rino.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, everything went like we expected, so a great day. Thanks to Nasrat, unfortunately he's not here, otherwise we could celebrate with us.
I'm sure he's celebrating with you guys at home. Congratulations, get ready for race 2 tomorrow, yeah? Back to you in the commentary booth.
Thank you very much, Renee. Always good to see those big smiles on the faces, and they worked hard for that win. The wins you really have to dig deep for are the ones that mean the most. But so 1 hour of racing activity completed. A lot of boxes ticked, and a lot of drivers know a lot more about this circuit than they did just a couple of days ago. And also after racing conditions in quite warm circumstances, they got to understand how their tyres can hold up in race action. Of course, there's that period where they had behind the safety car, the temperatures dropped away, but they all behaved very, very well when the safety car pulled off and the racing resumed. But great performance out on the circuit, but none better than Rui Aguas and Rino Mastronardi. But the chase was a good one, and Maxi Buch took over from Hunter Abbott in the 999 Mercedes. And we talk of car 999. So let's throw down to Renee. She's with the 999 Mercedes crew from Gruppa M.
Yes, it's got to have felt good to be coming across that line.
It was good. Yeah, it was a good feeling.
A very good race from you. And how did you feel out there today?
Yeah, it was great. Considering that on Friday we had a crash in FP2, and we didn't even think we were going to be out for qualifying, or let alone race 1. The team did a phenomenal job, actually unbelievable. And we had to scavenge parts from, unfortunately, the car, but we got back out, and yeah, we've done it. So Group M did an awesome job.
So a very, very positive twist to what could have been a really difficult weekend for you guys.
Yeah, it is indeed. Now we are looking straight forward for tomorrow, starting first row, and then we will see.
There you have it. Raring to get back out there for race 2 tomorrow already.
Thank you.
Back to you in commentary, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Renee. And what you could see there, not just the sweat on the brow of Maxi Buch, you could see how hard he pushed, but he was still really pumped up there. You shouldn't just see. That chase was a real cracker, and he got closer and closer to Rui Aguas. Didn't quite pull it off, but he was still... Hunter Abbott, who'd got out of the car half an hour ago, starting to be relaxed and can enjoy that. But for Maxi Buch, you could see he was still completely wound up with the activities. So we've got the first 3 cars, the race-winning Ferrari in silver, and then the AM winner in 19 in the middle of the batch there, and 6 in the background. That of Alex Jung came home in 4th place overall, but 3rd in the Pro-Am class. So we had the Audis really coming good, but ahead of them, it will lurk Audi. They had the Ferrari and the Mercedes. So let's take a look at the finishing positions. Will be coming to us shortly at Chang International Circuit, but we can tell you for sure that, of course, the race win went to Rui Aguas and Rino Mastronardi, chased so hard by Hunter Abbott, who handed over to Maxi Buch. Over the inside. And there was the collision down at turn 3. And that unfortunately clashed with Max Gill, but he got pushed off the side of the circuit. More spins further down the order. The 18 Audi also going for a rotation and coming to a halt. And there, unfortunately, later in the race was where we lost the 1st and 3rd place cars. The Lamborghini Martin Kodrick getting really caught up, hitting the back marker, who'd already clashed. Just out of our picture was our race leader, the red and yellow Ferrari of Anthony Liu, and that handed more damage further back down the order. There is Kodrick's car being taken away. Liu's car was still in the gravel, and that handed the lead to Rino Mastronardi. And of course, there was lots of argument further back, and that was Davide Rizzo finding out from his teammate Anthony Liu why the car wasn't returned for him to race. The GT4 action was as tight as you can imagine between the only 5 cars in that class, but they really got into some great racing. And in the pit lane, it was all about who could get in and out quickly. They all have to have a minimum of 90 seconds in the pit lane. There's Aditya Patel pulling back out, but that was fighting its way back up the order, and that would eventually retire. But Rino Mastronardi had such a comfortable lead. It was nice and easy. Rui Aguas came out ahead, but very shortly had the 999 Mercedes pulling right onto his tail. And Maxi Buch doesn't take no as an answer, and he got closer and closer. Another driver on a massive charge was Carlo Van Dam in the Singer Motorsport Ferrari, picking his way through a cluster of Porsches, and he worked his way up to an eventual 7th place. Very, very impressive indeed. But out front, as the GT4 runners got close with each other, you can see 3 of them coming down the start-finish straight, one in a slight problem. It was about the 38 Ferrari being caught ever more by the 999 Mercedes. A bit of a clash coming up, I think, here out of the final quarter. Devon Modell staying wide off the circuit, but I'm afraid Max Wieser came across. Well, I suppose you could say Modell was rejoining, but he had ceded the corner, so I think he did deserve to be back on the track. But towards the end of the race, the Porsches have been quiet, but they suddenly came on massively strongly, and number 8 just jinking around there, Maxime Juste being challenged very hard indeed by Chris van der Drift. They got ahead of the 39 Ferrari and fought all the way to the finish, but not for the positions at the sharp end of the field. There was a driver expecting his teammate to bring it home. That's Rino Mastronardi. And Rui Aguas did precisely that job in the 38 Ferrari. Coming around the final corner, he'd already been on a warning flag for exceeding track limits. One more run over the curbs and beyond, and he'd be out. And that was the hunt, with Maxi Buch getting closer and closer as they went past with a lap to go. I'm afraid that Lamborghini went across the path of Maxi Buch, managed to be avoided, but down to the final corner for the final time. The checkered flag being waved, and Maxi Buch just couldn't quite do it. 0.795 of a second was the gap between the winning Ferrari from Spirit of the Race and the Group M Mercedes. It was close, it was tight, but advantage to the 38 Ferrari crew. So let's go down to Renee, busy in front of the podium with Sean Thong.
Busy and very happy. How are you going?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a good race, and we really didn't expect to finish on the podium because
I expected to finish in podium.
After the race start, but in qualify it's difficult because we actually have some issues in qualify, and we didn't have the pace. But I think in the race we executed well. We did the perfect pit stop. Marchi did some really good overtaking, and I think the safety car helps a lot. And I think I did my job as well because I keep the 2 other Audis behind the bay. And yeah, I think we deserve to be on the podium today.
Yeah, and you had a penalty, of course, but you managed to still end really well.
Yes, I think the start is critical because there's so many happening and some crash doing in the front, and I see some chance, and I do some passing, which is I'm very happy because passing on the outside is not that easy, and managed to keep the pace and also push 3 laps after the safety car. Then it's good.
Okay, not an easy race, but well done and enjoy it. Back to commentary.
Thank you, Renee. I love hearing from drivers after the race. Almost a bit of discord there between Marchi Lee and Sean Thong. And I think the podium ceremony should be starting soon. You can see unusually it's across the track from the pit building. So just as they line it up, let's run you down the finishing order. Here's the top 12, Rui Aguas and Rino Mastronardi. Look at that advantage, 0.795 of a second ahead of the Maxi Buch charging Mercedes. Just heard from Sean Thong and Marchi Lee, led the Audi battle because it was Audi behind them, with Alex Young giving great chase. Couldn't quite make it, but pushed for lap after lap. And Alessio Picariello was really strong in the second half of the race, having taken over from Jeffrey Lee. He got into the mix, and likewise a really good drive from Martin Rump, who picked his way up to 6th place in the number 18 Audi. Carlo Van Dam, we saw him putting on a fantastic performance as he moved up to 7th place, gained about 5 positions. And if you want to look down to work out where the top finishers are, they had top finish in GT4, 17th position overall, 4 laps down at the end, but they kept their way out of the trouble. Frank Yu and Jean-Marc Molin, and the winning cars starting to be pushed away from the podium. But I think it's time for us to go and see what is happening down at the podium ceremony. And now we're ready. And Jack Mack will be presenting some of the trophies. He's a motorsport specialist. So bringing the drivers up. These are the drivers who finished 3rd overall. That's Marchi Lee being followed up by Sean Thong from the number 5 Audi Hong Kong entry. 2nd place, that's Hunter Abbott. followed up by the shorter figure of Maxi Buch. What a great charge from the young German racer. And here's Rino Mastronardi following up after Rui Aguas. Rui in the white overalls, Rino in the black. Overall victory, and that was very hard-earned for the trio, in the duo in the Ferrari. And this is Jack Mack presenting trophies to the top 3 drivers. And there's also something else to give them, but he'll give them that in a second. They get their trophies. That's the second place trophies, waiting for Rui Aguas to take his winner's trophy from Jack Mack from Motul. And now Rino Mastronardi, so applause all round. I think all those crews worked very hard indeed for their haul of points this afternoon. I suppose now's the time to break it to Aguas and Mastronardi. They have a 10-second extra time in the pits for winning tomorrow. But right now, let them enjoy the victory, the trophy, the check, the biggest one coming to them. And well, everyone likes a check. So that's the overall winner's check. They'll have to decide which of them gets it, but I know it always goes to the team. $10,000, that's worth having. Thank you very much. $5,000 for second place and £2,500 for third. So gold, silver and bronze, as you can see on those checks. And now, with the drivers understanding they might have to wear those race suits tomorrow, that not everybody wants to have them smelling of the fizz. But Rui, he's been doing it for years on the top of the podium, all around the world, and the Portuguese race. Where's everyone gone? He said. This is my big moment. I wanted to spray everybody. But yes, another race. Of course, the cameramen always get soaked. They know it's part of their role. But I think we'll see a far less muted podium tomorrow, because these drivers all have to focus on tomorrow's race as well. But I think they all deserve applause, because that was a really strong race. And the fact we had a Ferrari, a Mercedes and an Audi in the top 3 positions shows that the way the cars are sorted for this Blancpain GT Series Asia is very well balanced indeed, and that's just how we like to have it. So the rain stayed away this afternoon as we look out around the circuit. Just waiting, we've got 4 podiums. That was the first one, that was the overall podium. Then we'll have the Pro-Am podium. And you'll recognise some of these drivers because they've been on the podium already. The crew that's new, if you'd like, is the crew on the right. In third place in Pro-Am is the Alex Au, Alex Young pairing. Alex Young just with a moustache and beard now. Goatee beard on the right-hand side, and Alex Au, 4th overall after that good chase, and they take 3rd in the Pro-Am class. That's why these drivers held back. Oh look, Maxi Buch is now starting to smile. He's losing his race head. Rui Aguas on the top steps, smiling broadly at absolutely everything, and being presented with trophies. And the winners will get a Blancpain clock from Blancpain's Achim Linker.
Thank you very much.
So a double close, and there is the watch clock, if you like, from Blancpain. Every garage should have one on the wall, but you don't just buy them. You can't buy them. You have to win them. That's how it should be. So Aguas and Mastronardi up on the top step. Yeah, afternoon, well done. I think it was all the sweeter because they had to really, really work. Hunter Rabbit did a good stint the opening part of the race, and then Maxi Buch really gave chase in the Group M. Mercedes didn't quite get there, but under a second. Maxi Buch again is fast on the track, but even faster off the podium. And Rui Aguas is going, this isn't how it's supposed to be on the top step. I have to spray everyone. I am the winner, but very pleasingly, the 2 Alexes, Au and Jung, have stayed to keep him company, as has Rino Mastronardi, and now they can't all get the tops off their bottles, and good use of a check there to protect one of the girls up on the podium. 2 more podiums to come. Of course, we have GT3 AM, 14th place overall, but winning the AM class with the 2 Japanese racers, Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirazaka. Will be coming up, and I must say from the first 2 rounds, well, we've only had the first 1.5 rounds of Blancpain GT Series Asia. I think it's really started on very, very firm footing indeed, and great to be here at the Chang International Circuit. Grew up out of the jungle in no time at all, and I'd say for all the drivers who've come here to go racing, I think they've been very, very pleasantly surprised by what they've experienced here this weekend. So the 69 crew in 3rd place in the AM class is James Kai and Kenneth Lim in their Aston Martin. Second place is Zhu Shunhan and Lin Yu, the Chinese pairing from the FF Racing crew, but it's our two Japanese racers on the top step. As we said, Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka. They are the AM winners, second and third places. They've got to do it all over again tomorrow. Achim Linker again handing out the trophies, hoping to keep out of the way. Big smiles from Achim up there on the podium. Big smiles from everyone. You always get that in the AM class. These are gentlemen racers. So, as we start to draw to the end of this broadcast, it's pretty much time to go. We've still got one more podium ceremony to go to after this, but do come back tomorrow. We've got the second of the races here at the Chang International Circuit. So come back tomorrow afternoon and see who's going to win at the second time of asking. So as the GT3 AM runners amble their way off the podium, we've got one more podium to come, and that's in the GT4 class. We had five cars start that race, and 3 of those crews will be up on the podium, and really their job was not only to race fast but also to make sure they stayed out of the way. Quite a speed differential between them and of course the GT3 runners, and I think they did so exceptionally well. Plenty of noise still out around the circuit. Cars have been pulled back off the track. It's getting cleared because there's further racing action later this afternoon. But waiting for this final podium for the GT4 runners. In third place in class, number 10 entry from EKS Motorsports, Byron Tong and Eric Lowe. Second place, all in Porsche Caymans, of course. 17 crew from Taiwan Top Speed Racing, Keo Chang and Jeremy Wang, and I thought Jeremy drove really well. And winners, Frank Yu and Jean-Marc Merlin. Normally wears a different sort of cap, but he's very happy to wear the Pirelli winner's cap as he steps up onto the top step of the podium. Thumbs up all around. Right again, Jack Mack from Motorsport presents the trophies. Yeah, I love the smiles on the faces of the drivers. Job very, very well done indeed. Jean-Marc Merlin, he spends a lot of his season racing in Europe, but branching into new ground for him, by and large racing in Asia, regular at Le Mans. And you race for the pleasure, but when you get a check with thousands of dollars on it, that's certainly very enjoyable indeed for the GT4 runners. $3,500 for the race winners. Yes, the smiles have become larger now. So, Frank Yu on the right at the top step and Jean-Marc Merlin on the left. Particularly large smile. In fact, they won that class comfortably at the end. They had an advantage of nearly 25 seconds. So for Jean-Marc, a good afternoon racing. More frequently found in an LMP3 car, but he does still enjoy racing these GT4 Porsche Caymans. And certainly for the SRO series, having GT4 in them or as separate support races are really, really good part of it. So as the drivers leave the podium, so here are the highlights of the first of 2 races at the Chang International Circuit. Leading away from pole position, the red and yellow Ferrari of Anthony Liu did just enough to keep Rino Mastronardi in the silver 38 Ferrari at bay into the opening corner. Already making ground. Hunter Abbott up into third place in the Mercedes, but behind Martin Kodrick going very well indeed. Great exit from turn 1 for the Lamborghini racer. Up at turn 3 though, things went wrong because unfortunately Mitch Gilbert had got his Audi ahead of the Mercedes, got clouted by it and was effectively out of the race, limping around at the tail end of the field. The number 18 Audi also went into rotation as well. No real damage, but just a concertina effect. The damage came at the same corner about 6 or 7 laps later, and the Lamborghini that had been running third, Martin Kodrick, caught a GT4 Cayman that had already had a clash with the race leader. Anthony Liu is out of the picture, out of the race, and that handed the advantage over as the 89 limps back. And the Lamborghini was rescued onto a flatbed. That put Rino Mastronardi into the lead of the race. And you can see the explanations in the pit lane, the famous driver hand movements, who did what and where. 86 Audi, this was the one that Mitch Gilbert lost a lot of ground on that opening lap. Out of the overall reckoning, definitely in the overall reckoning, was the 38 Ferrari. In from the lead of the race into the pit stops. Rui Aguas took it over and went on a charge. But he had the Mercedes catching up, and a driver who really flew in the second half of the race, as Carlo van Dam took over from Borovud Pirompakti and picked his way past the Porsches, past the Audis, gained a lot of position out on the circuit. The GT4 runners still fighting very hard indeed. And in the background, you can see one of the Audis making gains. Unfortunately, not everybody kept it clean. The 99 Porsche off the side of the circuit when it decided to come back on. Unfortunately, there was contact with the number 39 Ferrari, side to side, and a little bit more, I think that's what we call afters. And Devin Modell had to tuck into position behind. Maxime Jus in the number 8 Porsche working very hard indeed to keep Chris van der Drift in the 88 Craft Bamboo Porsche behind him as they went past the car that went on to win the GT4 class. And tucked in behind was that 39 Ferrari that had a clash with a third of those Porsches, which of course was the yellow and green one. But on the pit wall, Rino Mastronardi was just urging the clock to beat down to the end of an hour. And certainly for his teammate Rui Aguas, things were getting tighter and tighter because he had the Mercedes closing in, Maxi Buch getting closer and closer. Now, how's this? Just what you don't want when you're chasing is to have a Lamborghini spinning across your path, but fortunately that kept out of the way. Number 2 Lamborghini was able to continue, and luckily the 999 Mercedes was not too interrupted, but down to the final corner, under a second between the race leader. That's Rui Aguas and Maxi Buch, but there's the checkered flag, and Aguas had done just enough, another flamboyant flash of the lights, and it was victory to Ferrari over Mercedes, and Audis came 4th, 5th and 6th. And now down on the grid to Renai.
It's been an eventful day here at Chang International Circuit, and it ended with plenty of smiles up here on the podium. From the team and myself here in Buriram, Thailand, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the racing, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for race 2 of the Blancpain GT Series Asia. Goodbye.